Hello all, welcome to the presentation of Health Buddy Mobile. I'm Ernest. So basically what I'm proposing today is an application which aims to solve problems which I will elaborate further in the healthcare industry in Singapore. So let's get started. So I'll go through the project objective, the proposed solution and the conclusion. Alright, so the problem in Singapore's healthcare industry is that locals are unwilling to work in the healthcare industry as service staff. And ironically, the government has been compelled to impose a quota on the influx of foreign workers. And as we all know, Singapore also faces an aging population trend, and it makes matters worse. So hospitals are actually facing a situation of a bed crunch today, while more hospitals are being built as fast as possible by the government. So how can we address this problem? We can actually come up with innovative ways of streamlining processes that must be implemented. So let's go on. So there are many ways to actually mitigate the above problem. So for example, we have through better skilled workers, incentive programs, remote monitoring, telemediation, etc. etc. So my proposed solution will be as follows. So I'll be using a mobile app. So why use mobile app? Because today technology has made such that mobile devices are very affordable to everyone. Many applications out there to make learning curve for everyone from nurses, patients and doctors easy and intuitive. So the following is an example for which current work processes occur in the hospitals. Right, so as you can see, this is from Tan Tock Seng Hospital. So it says that, for example, when a patient has a request for beverages, which means a nurse call, or pillow, toilet assistance, and or adjust to room temperature or lights, the patient has to press a buzzer button. Then the nurse will have to walk into the isolation room or the bed to ask what is required and back to the patient again with the requested item. So it's something like this: press the call bell and wait for assistance. Yeah, so the current scenario, it takes a lot of time because, for example, the patient will call for a nurse, and let's say the nurse comes to the patient, which really takes time. Let's say the patient requests something that's not in the job scope of the nurse. The nurse will have to call someone else who is responsible, which in this case, in this scenario, will be the ESA, Environmental Service Agent, and the Environmental Service Agent will then arrive, which will take a longer time, about 30 minutes. So what I propose is that the patient makes a call, and through intelligent job routing, this patient call is actually immediately routed to the correct personnel. For example, ESA, the Environmental Service Agent. So it doesn't have to go through a nurse or whatever thing, so it just immediately goes to the correct personnel. So this actually saves time and processing time or transfer times and whatnot. So it actually increase productivity. Yeah, so this is the business model canvas. So the value proposition is to reduce processing time through intelligent job routing. There also may be other features involved, which will be transparency in employee KPI, improve business processes and resource allocation through data analytics. And it also drives new ways, innovations and models of care, especially Singapore has a very good reputation in the healthcare industry as being very good. They offer good healthcare, and other countries may actually come to Singapore to actually experience this healthcare. So in order to keep up with the competition and keep up with for namesake, it actually has to improve and innovate and always improve their processes constantly. So for patients, it will improve patient experience, it will reduce the waiting times, and there will be a simpler and quicker nurse call process. So how do I want to reach my customer segments, which will be the healthcare workers, and a smaller portion will be on the patients. So how do I want to reach that? Through the channels, which will be a mobile application, through their mobile terminal. So customer relationship is obviously a personalized customer service. So key activities I have to perform to actually get this into fruition will be software development and close communication with healthcare facilities, which will be including the key partners, which is hospitals or mental institutions or any healthcare facilities. So key resources, what do I need is hardware, mobile terminals, Amazon Web Services or any backend, software and software developers. So what will be the cost structure like? So what do I need to put in order for this to come to existence, reality? So I need equipment and hardware, ongoing maintenance, developer payout, administrator payrolls, and day-to-day operational costs. Okay, so revenue streams, obviously you have a service and maintenance revenue, which will be a repetitive income, and licensing may be a one-time fee or a let's say a yearly annual thing. Yeah. Okay. Next. So how does it work? So obviously, it'll be an application in the mobile terminal, which will be at the bedside of a patient, which are demonstrated right here. Okay, so for the applications, these are the features round up. So for patients, there'll be settings, they will add tasks, there'll be a voice system for those patients that are unable to, let's say they're unable to move or advised not to move. And then for healthcare workers, aka runners, obviously there'll be a profile settings, they can attend to tasks, they can view their KPI, and obviously they can start messaging. And for supervisors, obviously it's about the same as the runners, but there will be task managers. They can add a task on behalf of patients, or some tasks that only supervisors are permitted to add. They will be able to add it here through the application. And yeah, they can view details and statistics to see like what's the performance in the hospital, whether they're performing at peak or whether they're not performing at peak. Yeah. So before we start, so this application has been fully integrated with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and developed with Ionic and Angular. Ionic 4 and Angular, yeah. So this is just how it works, like the architecture thing. So it goes to Cognito for sign in. It goes through an API to and it authenticates the user, and it calls the serverless computing platform, which is the cloud microservices cloud code hosted on the cloud. So it will then call the database, which I'm using DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database offered by Amazon, and Amazon S3, which is cloud storage for user images, files, and all whatnot. Right. So this will be the home page. So users of Health Buddy mobile will be greeted with a feed, which can be used to promote promotion on you. So for example, in this case, in the screenshot here, there's like promotions like, oh, you can visit this, you can actually put more advertisements, and you can actually slide through and all that. And there'll be a wayfinder, so you'll be able to find your way and all that. So the feed is uploaded to Amazon S3, a cloud storage, meaning that you can easily update the news feed by updating or uploading images to the cloud instead of having to like change the source code or whatnot. So yeah, so for patients, this will be the settings page. So every patient will have to set up their device first. So healthcare workers will have to configure a ward and bed number to the device. In this case, it should be ward 60 and bed 66. So patients will be able to personalize the experience at so for example, if they are unable to move or not advised to move, they can still be able to experience and use this device, use this application through voice control. Yeah. So patient settings are stored in device local storage, so any updates, crashes, force closing applications will retain the device settings. Alright, so how do patients trigger a nurse call? So for this, it will be a standard one without the voice. So patient will be able to trigger a nurse call from the main page. So request types are sorted and all that, and they'll be able to search. So let's just, so for example, I send a blanket task. It'll be straight away. The task will be sent to ward 60 and bed 60. A request will be created. You'll be sent to the correct personnel for them to attend to. All right. So this will be the voice system. So the voice system is for those that are unable to move, cannot move, or just prefer a voice experience. So how would it work? So as you can see, once you trigger the voice settings, the whole UI would change to make it simpler and for easier viewing, because you really don't want to touch the screen, but instead use the voice. So yeah, so it will become a grid view instead of a list view like the previous one. So how does it work? So the voice assistant uses the platform's voice recognition features to function. For example, if you use an Android device, it will use Google Assistant, and if you use an iOS device, it will actually use Siri voice recognition. So how does it work? So you just have to speak into the voice system here, and it will change from this to this, which means it's listening, and it listens for utterances. So it will stop listening after a timer runs out, or if the button is pressed again. Yeah, so the patient's utterance will be displayed while processing. So, for example, get me a blanket. It will actually trigger a blanket request, which is seen here. Yep. Okay, so the request and request types are stored in a cloud database. So it's not bound to a version application. You don't need to like, let's say you want to add new request types. You don't need to like, oh, I have to update the application. You just have to update it on the database, and it will be reflected in the application, which means you don't need to like code, or don't need to like update applications to actually let the patients view all this. Yeah, so this is for the runners now. Moving on to the runners. So runners will be able to manage their profile. So this creates a form of personalization and a transparency in roles and location responsibility. For example, so this will be the runner homepage, the landing page. So when they click profile, you go in the profile, they can actually change their picture, their profile picture, which will be for the chat, and their preferred name. So their roles and their work responsibilities, they'll be able to view it as well. So this will be this will be configured by the administrator. So they'll be able to view quick statistics as well to view how well they're doing in their job performance as compared to their peers and their colleagues. Yeah, so since runners includes cleaners, which usually are of an older age, which was raised as a problem, so they may not have English proficiency. So to combat this, runners will be able to set their language for the application, which will help enable voice feedback. So they're able to choose Chinese, English at the moment. So yeah. So let's say they attend the task. So this is a task, let's say a code task was actually sent by a patient in bed 6 and ward 22. So they're able to view the task here, and once they start the job, they will be able to view a timer. Yeah, so this makes use of intelligent job routing because it ensures the correct people are allocated and deployed for a particular task, and reduces time to deploy, allocate correct staff, and ensures no clashes in tasks. So how do I explain this? Is that let's say code, only the people who are responsible for getting code will be involved. So let's say there's a runner, there's let's say a mechanic, sorry, a technician. Yeah, so he's a technician. So he is not in charge of like getting codes. He's in charge of like faults, technical faults. So he will not be able to view all of these tasks. Yeah. So also no clashes. If for example, in the current system, where it's face to face, without any through the use of without any IT assistance, the nurse will actually go to the patient. So let's say the patient says like, "Oh, get me a code," and then and let's say in a scenario, the nurse walks back. And when the nurse while he's walking back to get a code, another patient calls the nurse like, "Hey, miss." So the nurse attends to the patient and let's say, "Oh, get me a towel, a blanket." So the nurse gets a blanket. I mean, he may actually forget about this code, or it actually creates a clash in tasks, and this may create certain problems as patients may get impatient, or they may if in the case where the nurse forgets the task, it will become a bigger problem. So yeah, this helps creating better workflow, which improves productivity. So when you start a job, you return a voice feedback. So let's say if you start the English, for the previous settings, you're configured to English. You'll actually say job started and job completed respectively. And if for Chinese, you'll say in the Chinese feedback, which will be 工作开始 or 工作完毕 in their language. So yep. So there will be a transparency in task attender as every task is bound to a person, and you'll be able to know which task you do, which task you do not do. So KPI. Runners will be able to track and monitor their KPI through charts and analytics, which are interactive. You can actually filter them as well. You can actually view them. You can actually interact with all these charts. So it will allow them to measure their performance on goals and targets. There are also rank analysis, performance analysis, and rank indicators. So in this case, the percentages is viewed on the chart. So you'll say like, oh, on time ratio, like how many requests you actually serve on time, how many requests you serve late. So you actually like compare these two ratios and like, oh, you're not in good standing. You are like 0.44 below your peers. So yeah, you have to work harder to keep up with the average performance of your staff or your colleagues. Yeah, so next we move on to the supervisor, which this one will be similar to the runner profile. You can change your profile picture, you can view your role, you can view your area of responsibility, and you can view which runners are under you. Yeah, so the task manager. So this task manager is for supervisors to view all the tasks, a list of tasks, and also maybe add tasks and view statistics and details. Yep. So a filter button allows for simpler browsing. So the filter button over here, you can filter by completed, in progress, pending, newest first, and whatnot. And the search bar enables easier queries on request types. You can actually combine your search rules as well, meaning that you can search like a specific. You can actually nail down a specific request if you want. Let's say you search bit 15, ward 22. Only they both you can actually combine the search tag. So you not display like only Ward 22, it will display both bed 15 and Ward 22. You can comma pending as well, so it will display everything here. So you can actually narrow it down really specifically. So statistics will be here. You can view quick statistics here, and if you click on this, it will actually view more statistics. Sorry, my voice. Yeah. Okay, so creating a task. So supervisors will be able to create tasks on behalf of patients, or creating tasks that are not allowed by the patients. So there's permissions as well for tasks. So let's say routines. Patients do not have to trigger routines, so supervisor will be able to do these routines. So yeah, and then they will be able to specify a specific location for the task to be sent. Like enter the ward and bed number, which will do enter, and they'll press OK, which will actually send the task over. So task details. Supervisors are able to view detailed statistics of a specific task or attend to a pending task directly. So let's say they view this task. This will be all the details of the task. So everything like, this one is a code request from time sent, to the status, to everything. How long did it take to respond, and who completed the task, which runner completed the task. In this case, it will be Ernest. Right, so task statistics. Right, so supervisors will be able to monitor and track the effectiveness of staff and request handling through charts and analytics, allowing them to measure their performance on goals and targets. So again, all these charts are interactive. Filters allow for specific and individual statistics, and also it serves as a feedback for current business processes, which I will explain later. So, for example, request frequencies, you can see like, on time and late and total. So if you click late, you'll filter it out. Let's say, total request and on time. So let's say, for this, there are a few late requests here. So you can actually tell it this way, and you can filter the request frequencies like, by beverages, by specific requests, like, okay, beverages requests, blanket requests, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can see here. Okay, so what do I mean by also serve as feedback for current business processes? Okay, so for example, in this case, let's just use this case. Let's say there are 5 requests. Okay, so let's just make it. Okay, so as you all know, in hospitals, nurses have routines. So let's say every morning, they will walk around and like serve, make bed for the patients, and offer and walk around to bring them a glass, top up their water and that kind of stuff. So let's say, for example, in a request frequency, you can see the time here. So let's say, for example, in a case where, let's say, maybe 2 o'clock, there are a lot of requests for a refill of water jugs. So this is a very high number of requests. So instead of attending to them one by one, we can actually use this feedback, sort of as a feedback, to actually change our business processes. Let's say, 2 o'clock, why not we just do a routine for everyone where we refill their water jugs, instead of having to attend to them one by one. So actually, this will actually save time, increase productivity, and improve business processes. Right, so attending the task supervisor. So this also has intelligent job routing. It should be the same as the runner, but instead of the runner viewing only one task, the supervisor will be able to view multiple tasks. And just take note that all of these tasks also, it's not only just like the correct people, like the correct job scope. It's also like the bed and the ward responsibility, as I mentioned in the profile earlier. So there's a area responsibility. So you only view tasks that are relevant to your area. Yeah. So chat and messaging. So there was actually feedback from my user research with nurses in the healthcare industry that nowadays, even groups, like popular groups, like well-known healthcare groups, they are still using WhatsApp as a form of communication, and some of them actually find it unfair that WhatsApp, because there's always a 24/7 you have to be available rule, and WhatsApp, they also make group chats which may not be relevant to the staff. So let's say, for example, a nurse is on leave, but he will still receive all of these group chat notifications, but he also be unable to do anything because he's not in the hospital, he's on leave, so he'll be actually receiving all of these unnecessary messages. So how do I want to combat this problem? Right, so supervisors and runners are able to access chat capabilities. However, only supervisors are able to start a new chat. So you're able to view messages, reply messages, and for supervisors, you'll be able to start chat. So this helps promote work-life balance for employees. Alright, so this will be the runner's view, this will be the supervisor's view. Supervisor will start a new chat, so there's a new compose button here. Yep, so how does supervisor start a chat? So supervisor will start conversations with healthcare workers who are only online, which means they are logged in and they are working right now. So you cannot start a new chat with someone who is not on who is on leave or whatever. So you only view online one. So yep, you know which staff to call. Yeah. So you can see online runners. You can see like, oh, everyone that's online can start a chat. You can search. You can filter by the job scope and that kind of stuff. So ensures only relevant messages are received and sent to healthcare workers. Right. So when online, you're able to chat in this manner. There's a chat box, there's a voice, there's a send button, and the supervisor will look at this when online. But when it's offline, you are unable to send messages or reply to messages. The chat box will just disappear, and you just say user is offline. Right. So calling. So supervisors and runners are also be able to make phone calls via the application. So in current most MNCs and other many big companies today, there's a company shared CSV file, which is contact list file, which the employees will actually use this contact list file to actually save it on their phone. However, this actually clutters up contact list, as you do not have to usually chat with everyone in the company, only your direct supervisors or your direct runners or your people that you have to report to. So you don't need to like talk to someone from totally different department which you totally don't have a job scope with, and that sort of stuff. So this actually reduces the need for a company shared CSV file, which means you're able to make a phone call directly via the application. Like for example, in this supervisor view, I can actually call my runner Jia Ying by just pressing a button, and the number will pop out, and I'll just call, and it will trigger a phone call to them. Yeah, so in conclusion, what should I expect from this application, this proposed solution, is that you should expect mainly increased productivity in the healthcare industry. Yeah, so how? Through better service experiences for both patients and staff, a simple and easy to use request system for patients, a reduction in processing, transfer and waiting times, opportunities for improvement or changes through data analytics, a higher transparency levels, for example in KPI, task performance, intelligent job routing, which ensures which guarantees a smoother flow of workflow and handling of processes, and it creates better cooperation and coordination between staff through the chats. Yeah, so why is HealthBuddy Mobile different or better than existing job routing, job tracking apps or any healthcare apps? So what makes HealthBuddy Mobile stand out? So firstly, lots of job tracking apps are very generic. They are generally focused on getting the job done only. However, HealthBuddy Mobile actually incorporates quality of work, patient satisfaction, fast communication, and provides a form of self-assessment for all users. Yep, so this is how I plan to stand out, and the unique point of HealthBuddy Mobile is we actually incorporate all of this into one application which will be helping the healthcare industries. So yeah, this comes to the end of the presentation. The demo will be in the next video. So thank you for watching, thank you for sticking through, and I'll see you in the next video.